It was just 2 seasons ago that the Texas Longhorns had 0 players drafted. And this past weekend, Texas had 11 guys drafted. What does that mean? Let's talk about it. Welcome, everybody, to Longhorn Central here at the Voice of College Football. I am a voice of college football. My name is Sonny Verma, and to my left is Matthew Miller. Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Sonny. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. The vibes with Texas Longhorns fans are pretty high right now, and I feel like it's very much deserved. As the title of the video kind of says, this is the talk of the NFL draft. I know Michigan had more guys drafted overall. I believe they had 13 to Texas's 11, but the fact that they had 4 guys drafted after the last Longhorn was drafted, I feel like those are valued a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, they got the championship, so why can't they give us that at least? So, I'll take 11 in 6 rounds. Hopefully, we can improve on that in the future under Sark, but it's definitely a really good start in his third year.
I mean, we talked about. I said that in the intro. There was 0 in the opener. We had 5 last season, and now there's 11 this year. I mean, the trajectory is going up. So who knows what's going to happen next year, especially with the recruiting prowess between Coach Sark and just the staff. They just seem to be on fire right now.
Yeah, 100%. I believe Mac Brown only ever had 7 or 8 guys drafted was his peak. So Sark's already taken us past that. Now it's about sustaining that. You see Georgia basically having 6 to 7 guys minimum every year drafted. So if Sark can get us to that level, I think the championships will follow. As you saw, the top 4 or 5 in the college or in the NFL draft are all teams in the top 4 or 5 in the country in college football. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Now again, 11 guys is a lot to go through. So let's just kind of name off the start. I think Byron Murphy went first to the Seattle Seahawks, and then we had Xavier Worthy go to Kansas City. Uh, Instead of just listing them one by one, let me just ask you a general question. Of the 11, like who do you think kind of steps into the best situation in the NFL next season?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard not to go with Xavier Worthy, so I'll just go with the easy answer. You step into an offense with the best quarterback in football, one of, if not the best offensive minds in the history of NFL football with Andy Reid. I really think they're just going to use Tyreek Hill's scheme. They're going to dust off that old playbook that they used to have with him and insert Xavier Worthy, and I think he's going to have a great career there. You're going to see a lot of motion. His one big thing was his weight. He's too small. He'll get jammed up at the line of scrimmage. Guess what? If a guy's in motion, running before the snap, you can't really jam him. So I fully expect that to be the biggest thing, and you're going to see a lot of behind the line of scrimmage stuff, just like you saw with Tyreek Hill, and you're going to see a lot of downfield shots with a guy that actually had, I believe, the worst downfield passing rate of any quarterback last year, but we all realized that was because of the wide receivers dropping downfield passes. And Xavier Worthy comes in. I know he's got a reputation or whatever of dropping passes. That just isn't true. When you look at the catch rate in the data or the drop rate in the data, he's right in line with a Marvin Harrison Jr., who are around 5%. So he's actually one of the best guys with his hands in this draft. So I fully expect Xavier Worthy to have a fantastic year next year.
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest answer that of the day, at least. If there's one team in the NFL that can utilize Xavier Worthy's strength the best, it's going to be KC. They are used to handling really, really fast wide receivers. I'll be honest, I was kind of limited on where I saw Worthy perform at the next level, but falling into the hands of Kansas City and Andy Reid and having Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball for the first couple of years, it makes me actually pretty excited to see where his NFL career has a potential to go. Which Longhorn were you most surprised to see drafted where they're at?
So Keelan Robinson in the fifth round, I thought he was going to be a seventh, maybe sixth round guy, but fifth round, I was like, wow, I was surprised by that. He was actually drafted ahead of Jalen Ford, who, if Jalen Ford would have come out last year, was probably a third or fourth round pick. So it was actually a bad decision for him coming back. Unfortunately, to cost himself some money. But Keelan Robinson is a guy that I believe had under 400 snaps total in college, had 12 carries last year, and got drafted in the fifth round of the NFL draft. Now, he does make up with that with it elite athleticism. No matter where you look, the athleticism is going to be elite. And he's a great gunner on special teams, like historically good at Texas, blocking up 4 to 5 punts with not, he could have got more, but there are penalties called on those plays. So he's very good. He'll have a role at special teams at minimum. I think if you design certain packages, he has good enough hands. And if you can get him in the slot 1-on-1 with linebackers, he can be a weapon there too. So I think he's definitely got a shot.
Yeah, and stay tuned to this channel because I've got a video coming up talking about Robinson. I actually think, Matthew, that his draft, being drafted where he was, could be the most important thing for Longhorns and the program moving forward. Considering what you just talked about, him having limited impact on the counting stats, but he stuck it out, and Sark promised him that he'd make him into an NFL player, and that's exactly what he did. So I agree with you there. I was pleasantly surprised with how high Sweat got drafted,
Yes.
especially and to an ideal situation in Tennessee. That's a team known for trying to run stuffing defense, so he's going to be coached up there. Obviously, with the issues he had just less than a month ago, there was talks that he could drop to the third round, possibly early fourth round. But it kind of shows you that the general managers, the coaches, they did a lot of background work on Sweat, and they understand that sometimes college kids are just college kids and they make some mistakes. And I'm really happy for Tavondre, just that he gets this opportunity. And, again, he's another guy who gets into a great situation at Tennessee.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you. During a live stream a couple weeks ago on Mark's channel and the Texas channel, guys, subscribe and go check out that video. We did like a deep dive into not just the NFL draft, but the upcoming season right before the spring game. And basically, I thought in every recent circumstance that this is happening, a guy drops half a round to a round. So he still got picked 38th overall. If that's the case, that means he was probably going to be a late first round pick, maybe even middle first round pick if that was the case. Maybe he didn't drop it all, like you said. They did the research that didn't seem to bother him. But usually things like that do bother teams. I mean, look at the Larry May Tunsil situation, but it ended up working out. He was high second round, goes to a great situation. So overall, yeah, I think Tavondre Sweat has to be very happy and very also be should be what is that? Thanking his lucky stars that he went as high as he did.
Right. And, unfortunately, on the other end of the spectrum, Adonai Mitchell fell a little further than most people were projecting him to go out to. You saw what GM Chris Ballard of the Indianapolis Colts said about him afterwards, and saying, a lot of the baggage was BS. He used more colorful language than what I just used. But I mean, if I'm him, I see the backing of my general manager who drafted me that early. I'm ready to run through a wall for him. But what are your thoughts on Mitchell falling?
Yeah, it's definitely stinks for him because I think, hell, if he came back to Texas, I think he would have been a first round pick next year because you have more production. You're easily going to be the number one wide receiver on the team next year. And it's a down wide receiver class. Like we're talking about him, he could be the first or second wide receiver taken next year in the NFL draft if he were to come back. So that slide definitely hurt. And he blew up the combine. Like if you look at his athleticism at the combine, there's an RAS score. They've basically graded everyone's athleticism since 2004. He's like the 27th most athletic wide receiver in the history of the combine. So for him to fall that far was definitely surprising. But I mean, with the BS, like Chris Ballard said, off the field that was made up, but there are injury concerns. Like this guy has missed time. Being his first healthy year was this year at Texas. At Georgia, he missed a lot of time, but he comes through in the clutch. He has 5 touchdowns in 5 college football playoff games. I think it's a really good pick for the Colts. He also ends up in a great situation. He ends up with a young quarterback, a young offensive coach with Shane Steichen. He has Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr. right next to him with a great running back in Jonathan Taylor and a really good offensive line, and he gets to play in a dome. So I think it's a fantastic situation. So I mean, if I'm Adonai Mitchell, you could have gone, let's say, bottom of the first round and gone to outdoor weather with Buffalo, where you're going to be the focal point of that offense moving forward, or you could have been the second or third option and get to ease your way into the NFL in a dome with a great offensive mind. I think is a great situation for him.
Now, speaking as a program, having 11 guys drafted, again, zero drafted 2 years ago, five last year, 11 now. A lot of people say there could be up to 40 NFL players on the roster this upcoming season. What do you think this kind of says about the coaching staff and Coach Sarkisian and what they've got building in Austin?
It says a lot about the development. We've always talked about Texas has the talent, and they have had the talent. Now, have they always had the talent at certain positions? No. We've yet to have an offensive lineman drafted in the first round in over a decade and a half. So that's like the last piece of the puzzle, honestly, and maybe a cornerback. But even the talent we were getting at like the wide receiver positions, the linebacker positions, the defensive line positions, those are positions we have been getting, and we haven't been developing those guys. So that's number one. And then number two, getting guys to buy in. Your example, Keelan Robinson, that was a guy. Hey, just trust the process and you will get drafted in the NFL. It may not be where you want to go, like third or fourth round, but we will get you there and you'll put on good film. And it's a way to stick. Like special teams is a way to stick in the NFL for a long time and make a decent living. So I think those are the two main things that Steve Sarkisian and his staff have done very well.
Now, looking forward to next year, and Quinn Ewers is off the board. You can't say his name. Give us a couple guys you think could be the banner guys for the Longhorns in the 2025 NFL Draft.
So I wouldn't even have brought up Quinn Ewers first. Number one for me is Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks, to me, could be the first overall pick at the tackle position next year in the NFL. It's a down tackle class compared to last year's, and he can be that star in the tackle class. And the NFL values tackles basically over everything other than quarterbacks. So I think he could be drafted number one. He's played fantastic. If he can just stay healthy, he's been nicked up in a couple games, and that has taken down his performance. If he stays healthy, he has got a chance at that number one overall pick, and that'd be huge for Texas. Hell, just getting in the first round after a decade, and like I said, over a decade and a half with an offensive lineman not getting drafted, it's huge if he goes in the first round in general. Ethan Burke, long, lengthy, 6'6" type guy off the edge, had 5.5 sacks last year. Would have had more if not for a torn meniscus. He had surgery, took a week off, and played a week later. So he's really tough, really physical, has a lot of tools. Like I said, very lengthy and can still put on a muscle on his frame. I think if he has like an 8 or 9 sack year, I think he could be a first round pick. And then I'm trying to think on the roster, if Alfred Collins can just put it together, he can be a first round pick. He is more physically talented than both Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. His problem has been consistency. If he can turn up that motor, play consistent, he's got a chance. And that was kind of the same thing we were talking about with Tavondre Sweat before last season. He didn't play consistent. And then when we saw him play consistent, he was the Outland Trophy Award winner. So Alfred Collins can definitely do it. This is a guy that Chris Ash mentioned with Chase Young and the Bosa brothers. That's how talented he said he was. So if he can put that together, he could definitely be a first round pick. Right now, I think those are the guys going into next year that could be first round picks. Possibly Isaiah Bond, maybe Matthew Golden if they have really good years. Possible first round picks just going down further down the line. Malik Muhammad at cornerback, Derek Williams at safety. I think those are the type of guys. Maybe a Liano Lufau at a linebacker position, but definitely Malik Muhammad and Derek Williams on the defense in 2 years.
There's a lot of talent on that Texas Longhorns team moving forward. Matthew, before I let you go, obviously the transfer portal, any updates on any of the big guys that we're kind of waiting up?
So Dominic Williams, there's so much smoke around him. He took his visit with LSU today. Today's the 30th. I know I got called out last time because the video wasn't out, so I just want to put a time date on it so you know when I'm saying this. It is April the 30th, and all reports say it's kind of Mizzou, LSU, Texas. Those are the three to keep an eye on. If you go by Instagram following and stuff like that, I personally don't like to do that. Dominic Williams seems to follow Texas guys more and actually follows Steve Sarkisian, the head coach, where he doesn't do that with LSU and Missouri as of this moment. So hopefully Texas in the lead. It's a really big position of need. Unfortunately, we did, or I just heard before I jumped on this, Takario Davis is going back to Arizona, unfortunately. So that is a big piece that Texas is going to miss out on. And I think the connection to Dwayne Aquina, who was here for about a week and a half before Arizona said, you know what, Dwayne, instead of being an analyst, come back and be the cornerbacks coach. And they said, let's do it. And Takario Davis, after 4 months in the portal, goes
Yeah.
back to Arizona. And I believe Kendrick Blackshire also entered the transfer portal. Kind of a weird situation with him, transferring from Alabama. Now he's at Texas for like, what, a couple months. And now he's transferring out somewhere else. I always thought it was kind of weird because I think he wants to start. There was never going to be a starting position for him here at Texas. He was a rotational player on Alabama, and we kind of had the same talent level. So I expected that to be I expected that was what he was going to do here as well. So I expect him to probably transfer somewhere he can start and pursue his NFL dream, even though I don't know if that's in the cards for him.
Either way, it's going to be an eventful offseason for the Texas Longhorns. Whether it comes to commitments, decommitments, transfer portal, whatever it is, stay tuned to this channel. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. Matthew, let the folks know where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at MatthewMS97. It's right there. So please go do that. I just talk sports all the time: baseball, football, basketball, whatever you need, especially Texas Longhorns. So please do that, guys.
And also Matthew and Mark Rogers, they have a Texas Huddle live show every Monday, 7 Eastern. Is that correct?
7 Eastern time, correct.
7 Eastern, right on this channel right here. So again, once again, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and we'll deliver that Texas Longhorn content straight to you. Finally, my name is Sonny Verma. You've watched Longhorn Central. If you're looking for more Twitter followings, I'm at Horn Central right down there. Right there. Figured it out right there. We're just here to bring you Longhorns content as often as we can. Until then, we'll talk to you later.